Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Frank Sinatra.
Hi there. Come on in and preview these pictures with me.
A producer, director, writer, painter, composer, actor, but most of all a singer. He's a one-of-a-kind American phenomenon.
Well, did you ever?
Nothing like him ever happened before or since. A man who partied as hard as he worked, and no one worked as hard or had as many hit. He's a skinny kid from Hoboken who became the biggest swinger in the world. A most unlikely lover whose voice made women swoon and men nod in appreciation. No entertainer even comes close to the effect he had. Not Caruso or Jolson or Rudy Valley or Crosby or the Beatles or Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson. It's a career that spans 7 decades, from the 30s to the 90s.
Wowee, wow, wowee, wow, wow, wow.
His ability to project loneliness and toughness, wistful sadness and heartfelt love is unmatched. He calls himself just a saloon singer, but there's a little more to it than that. There's feuds and loves and betrayal and fear and rejection and fury. He's rubbed elbows with kings and goons, gangsters and presidents. Few people wouldn't recognize his voice or his face or his name.
Of course, my name's Frank Sinatra.
Francis Albert Sinatra was born December 12, 1915, in Hoboken, New Jersey. It wasn't the worst place to grow up, but it was no picnic. Cold water tenements, street gangs, goons from the shipyards, and names like Dago and Wop and Kike and Nigger. It wasn't easy to be an outsider in the land of the free. His parents were immigrants, his dad from Sicily, his mom from Genoa. His mother, Dolly, was well loved in Hoboken, but she had a difficult delivery with Francis, and he was scarred by forceps when he was born. He carried the scars on his ear and neck all his life. The family would later say Frank weighed 13.5 pounds when he was born and had been losing weight ever since. As a teenager, Frank Sinatra discovered music and decided to emulate the groaner, Bing Crosby, his idol, and years later, a close friend. The advent of radio had made Crosby an international sensation.
Where the blue of the night meets the gold of the day, someone waits for me.
His parents didn't like the idea of music as a career at first, but they came around.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, again we bring you new faces and new talent.
Major Beau's live version of his radio amateur hour was amateur in name only. Frankie Sinatra got a paying gig as one of the Hoboken Four, a trio that Major Beau's decided should be a quartet. Two of the trio hated and envied Sinatra. His untutored voice already was a draw to females. More than once, the older two boys beat the crap out of Sinatra out of envy. Sinatra never forgot loyalty or betrayal. Years later, when Sinatra was a big name, the two singers asked for a loan. Sinatra told them to go get lost. Stifled as part of a group, the teenager struck out on his own. He worked hard and practiced. Confident enough in his future, he proposed to Nancy Barbado. He called her his only escape from a grim world. But he warned her, "I'm going places. I don't want anyone dragging on my neck." She told him, "I won't get in your way, Frank." They were married in 1939, and Sinatra got a raise to a glorious $35 a week. Trumpeter Harry James spotted Sinatra and knew that the young man's way of talking a lyric was something special. Sinatra had picked up the emotional method of singing by emulating blues masters like Bessie Smith and Billie Holiday. The era of the big bands was in full swing, and Sinatra's mellow voice rode the crest like a velvet surfboard. Of course, not everyone was impressed.
Thank you, Frankie. Thank you. Thank you, Frankie. Thank you. Just lie down there any place. That was B2 Sinatra, folks. The only singer that has given Crosby any competition since Jenny Lind. But they must have nylons back there. But
The The reaction from female fans was incredible. Bobby Soxers, the critics disparagingly called them, teenagers who'd latched onto some sort of short-lived musical fad. That Sinatra's press agent staged some stunts, well, yes, some. But the emotional reaction was genuine. This young man had a way of caressing a song with his voice that made every woman feel like he was singing just to them. Theaters sold out. Hysterical mobs surrounded Sinatra in taxis, on street corners, at train stations. With national radio, a relatively new phenomenon, Sinatra's voice became known everywhere. His angular face graced the music and fan magazines. He was offered up as a happily married man, and no doubt he loved his wife, Nancy. But the temptation of other women, a lot of other women, was always there. Pop psychologists tried to explain the phenomenon by suggesting something about the undernourished Italian kid prompted an urge to mother him. But feeding him was not what was on these girls' minds. Other big bands eclipsed the popularity of Harry James, and Sinatra joined forces with trombonist Tommy Dorsey. Dorsey loved to fight and hated giving in, as pugnacious as Frank Sinatra himself. But the singer observed Dorsey carefully, modifying his singing style. Dorsey had a way of sneaking a breath from the corner of his mouth to extend a long note. Sinatra learned to do this and breathed through his nose while singing to give himself more control. But Dorsey's ego couldn't stand a young soloist getting credit for the band's work. The birth of his first child, Nancy, in 1940, inspired the song Nancy with the Laughing Face, one of his early hits. But the idea that he was a nurturing husband and a father didn't stop the audience idolatry. Fans hunted theaters and hotels for hours for a glimpse of his blue eyes, an autograph, or maybe even a smile. His mother had always worked hard for the Democratic Party back in Hoboken, and young Sinatra was a staunch liberal, devoted to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. These were the years just after the Great Depression, and there was a feeling of optimism, of greatness ahead, that the worst was over, and now there was a whole world out there to conquer. Unfortunately, some people in Germany and Japan took that literally. World War II meant hundreds of thousands of men leaving wives and kids to fight for their country. Unlike later years and unpopular wars, this was a fight against hate and racism, things Sinatra had fought on a personal level since he was a kid. But he flunked his physical exam. A pierced eardrum received in a childhood brawl meant he was unqualified for service. Yet he received the ultimate honor. President Roosevelt himself asked him to the White House. Imagine that, Sinatra said later. A skinny kid from Hoboken talking to the most important guy in the world.
We are going to win this war, and we are going to win the peace that follows.
He cherished the friendship of the president and the first lady all his life. He even managed to talk Eleanor Roosevelt into appearing on his TV show years later. No woman, no matter how great, was immune to the Sinatra charm.
It would be entertaining.
Just what you're doing now.
I don't quite understand you. You mean this is it?
Yep.
Oh, Mr. Sinatra, are you feeling well?
Yes, I'm weller than you might think.
But you can't call this entertainment.
Well, you call it what you will. All I know is that any room is a better place for having had you in it.
You should try for the diplomatic corps. Now come, Frank. There must be something I can contribute to the evening.
All right, let me see. Mrs. Roosevelt, you are a woman who has traveled more extensively than anyone we know. And I'm sure that you've been face to face with troubled people in every corner of the globe. Isn't that so?
Yes, I suppose so. That's because my interest in people and the dignity of the individual seems more important to me than material things.
No question. Now then, if you had 1 minute to leave one word with, say, 25 million people, what would that word be?
That one word would be hope.
Just hope?
Yes, it's the most neglected word in our language.
Well, in this country at least. And maybe that's because the reality of our way of life is more than less fortunate people's dare to hope for.
Frank Sinatra's movie career began inauspiciously, usually as a one-scene guest star in low-budget musical comedies such as Ship Ahoy, Las Vegas Nights, and Reveille with Beverly. Despite his nervous charm and ability to tell a story in song, studios figured him for a gimmick. They didn't yet accept the idea that he was anything more than a singer. But studio bosses saw him as useful as a phenomenon. He was an audience draw. His wife and growing family remained on the East Coast while he toured, did radio, recorded songs like Put Your Dreams Away, All or Nothing at All, You'll Never Know, and People Will Say We're in Love. He spent more and more time in Hollywood, where he began his motion picture career in earnest at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios, the grandest studio in Hollywood.
Makes the sun set, what makes the moon rise? Is it my love for you?
And only be a melody, for I know no one but me.
I fall in love too easily.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
La 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 la.
La 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 la.
You see?
It's easy.
She begged me.
True.
She pleaded.
Forgotten you? Oh, baby. With a picture of you I've got in my mind, why, even over the phone I can see every...
The musicals were big and splashy and successful and shallow. Not so the short film Sinatra made in 1944. The lyricist, Lewis Allen, would later direct Sinatra in the film Suddenly. The writer Albert Maltz would be blacklisted during the McCarthy era. And the conductor in the film was Sinatra's favorite at the time, Axel Stordahl.
Just give me 5 minutes and I'll have the other number ready. I'll get a smoke. Next number, boys. Somebody in for a licking?
You bet. Where's Smear?
Yeah, but 10 against 1. That's not very fair.
Ah, come on.
What's it all about?
None of your business.
Scared to tell me?
No, I'm not as scared. I'll fight you even.
And if I can help it, I just want to know why the gang war.
We don't like him. We don't want him in our neighborhood or going to our school. I've been living here as long as you.
What's he got, smallpox or something?
We don't like his religion.
His religion?
Look, mister, he's a dirt...
Now, hold on. I see what you mean. You must be a bunch of those Nazi werewolves I've been reading about.
Mister, are you screwy?
Not me. I'm an American.
Well, what do you think we are?
Nazis?
Don't call me a Nazi. My father's a sergeant in the army. He been wounded even.
Wounded, huh? Say, I bet he got some of that blood plasma.
He was wounded so bad he had to get it 3 times.
Son, anybody in your family ever go to the blood bank?
Sure, my mother and my father both.
Uh-huh. You know what? I Bet you maybe his pop's blood helped save your dad's life. That's bad.
What's bad about it?
Well, don't you see? Your father doesn't go to the same church as his father does. That's awful. Do you think maybe if your father knew about it in time, he would rather have died than to take blood from a man of another religion? Would you have wanted him to die? Would your mom want him to die?
No.
Look, fellas, religion makes no difference, except maybe to a Nazi or somebody as stupid. Why, people all over the world worship God in many different ways. God created everybody. He didn't create one people better than another. Your blood's the same as mine. Mine's the same as his. Do you know what this wonderful country is made of? It's made up of 100 different kind of people, and 100 different ways of talking, and 100 different ways of going to church. But they're all American ways. Wouldn't we be silly if we went around hating people because they comb their hair different than ours? Wouldn't we be a lot of dopes? My dad came from Italy, but I'm an American. But should I hate your father because he came from Ireland or France or Russia? Wouldn't I be a first-class fathead? You guys remember Pearl Harbor? Why, the Japs socked us so it looked like we could never do anything about it. But a couple of days later, something very important happened. Close your eyes and let me tell you about it. Go on, close your eyes. All of you, I want you to imagine it. There was a Jap battleship, the Haruna, and one of our planes spotted it. Do you know what it takes to bomb a battleship? It takes guts, know-how, and teamwork. And our boys sure needed plenty of it, because that Jap was throwing up enough flak to get out and walk home on. But the pilot had only one thing on his mind, to get over that ship. And he did. And then the bombardier pushed a button and a 500-pound tomato smacked that Jap right in the middle. Yep, they sank it. And every American threw his head back and felt much better. The pilot of that ship was named Colin Kelly, an American and a Presbyterian. And you know who dropped the bombs? Meyer 11, an American and a Jew. You think maybe they should have called the bombing off because they had different religions? Think about that, fellas. Use your good American heads. Don't let anybody make suckers out of you. Well, gotta go to work.
What do you work?
I sing.
Ah, you're a kid.
Come here. They all stand here, and no hissing allowed.
What is America to me? A name, a map, or a flag I see. A certain word, democracy. What is America to me? A house I live in, a plot of earth, a street, a grocer and a butcher, and the people that I meet, the children in the playground, the faces that I see, all races and religions, that's America to me. The place I work in, the worker at my side, the little town or city where my people lived and died, the howdy and the handshake, the air of feeling free, and the right to speak my mind out, that's America to me. The things I see about me, the big things and the small, the little corner newsstand and the house a mile tall, the wedding and the churchyard, the laughter and the tears, the dream that's been a-growing for 150 years. The town I live in, the street, the house, the pavement of the city, or a garden all in bloom. The church, the school, the clubhouse, the million lights I see, but especially the people. That's America to me.
So long, men.
He campaigned hard for FDR in 1944, but right-wingers of the time jumped on him for sounding like a communist, suggesting that all races or religions or beliefs should be given equal respect. Gossip columnists bluntly stated that he was seeing other women while his wife stayed home. True or not, Sinatra didn't appreciate prying into his private life. He stayed busy with radio gigs and volunteer work for the USO, entertaining the troops, now accepted as an equal by his idol, Bing Crosby.
All night with me, till the stars fade from above. They'll say it's all right with me. People will say we're in love.
And he made propaganda shorts to help the war effort, like this short subject allegedly said in 1960, and looking back at the old days in 1944.
744, there we are. It's a little old-fashioned, Pop, but you asked for it.
Well, let's hear it anyway.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Carson.
Oh, dear, do you remember how funny he used to be?
Funny, who, Carson?
First of all, of course, no program would be complete in 1944 without The Voice. Frank Sinatra.
There'll be a hot time in the town of Berlin when the lads go marching in. I'd like to be there, boy, and spread some joy when they take old Berlin. There'll be a hot time in the town of Berlin when our fighting boys begin to take the joint apart and tear it down when they take old Berlin. They're gonna start a row and show them how they'll sock from Berlin to Tokyo. They're gonna take a hike through Hitler's Reich and change his heart to what you know, Joe. There'll be a hot time in the town of Berlin when the lads go marching in. You could never keep them happy down on the farm after they take Berlin.
He loved his wife and kids, but the marriage scene started to be a drag on him, like he warned Nancy it would be when they got married. He kept pushing, guest starring in the glossy, all-star tribute to Jerome Kern, till the clouds rolled by.
Old Man River, that old man River, he must know something, but he don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling. He keeps on rolling along. He don't plant taters, and he don't plant cotton, and them what plants 'em is soon forgotten. But oh, sweating strain, body's all aching and racked with pain. Tote that bar, lift that bell, you'll get a little drunk, and you'll land in jail. Sick of trying, I'm tired of living, but I'm feared of dying, and old man River, he just keeps going on.
By the end of the war, Sinatra's fans were growing a little older. They were no longer Bobby Soxers. They were now in their late teens and early 20s. MGM tried to adapt to this new post-war world by casting Sinatra as an ex-GI in It Happened in Brooklyn.
The ice on the sidewalk, and then the thaw. The sawdust tripping you up. The muddy slushes in the gutters. Ah, Brooklyn in the wintertime.
I can see a steeple surrounded by people. Oh, how real it all starts to seem. Just as the choir is singing, my alarm starts ringing. It's the same old dream.
Say, that's a very fine chateau. You know, we gotta start rounding up a doll for you.
A doll?
A chick, or as they was known in my youth, a sweet patootie.
Transplanted English actor Peter Lawford was the second lead. Lawford became a close friend of Frank Sinatra and stayed that way until 1961. They had two major things in common. They both liked drinking and they both liked chasing women. But for now, it was Sinatra that audiences came to see.
Please, Ann, don't go.
But, Danny, it's late. There are 25 school teachers living here, and you don't want them talking about my coming in after midnight, do you?
Oh, of course not.
Good night, Danny. It's been a wonderful evening.
Gee, I guess we're going steady now, huh, hey?
I believe in wishing well, and I also believe in a lot of things that Daisy tells.
I believe that your luck will show again if you manage to borrow a rabbit's foot for your pocket change.
Sinatra later planned a movie biography of comedian Jimmy Durante with Dean Martin in the lead. It never happened. These fluffy musical pictures at MGM started to stifle Frank Sinatra. He wanted to grow as a performer. He tried a straight role as a priest in Miracle with Bells, which stiffed. And worse yet, he was the foppish crooning caballero in the worst film of his life or anyone else's life, The Kissing Bandit.
How do you do? I'm terribly sorry. I don't know the horse very long, and I didn't mean to break the furniture. This is a very nice place we've got here.
Yeah.
Who's that?
That is the kissing bandit.
The kissing bandit?
Of course.
But if I steal your heart, dear, I'll keep it close to
If you like me,
Scream.
I never scream. What are you doing here?
I've come to take you away with me, to carry you over the border or someplace where we can be together.
You mean you want to abduct me?
Yes, we've dilly-dallied long enough.
Well, I'm not even dressed. Look.
Oh. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I had no idea.
What's wrong with me? Why didn't he kiss me? He had the chance for a romance. What's wrong with me?
Why didn't I kiss her? Fine bandit you are. Would Robin Hood have acted that way? Or Romeo?
He seemed to have a lot more fun off-screen than in so-called musical comedy pictures like The Kissing Bandit. A rabid sports fan since he was a kid in New Jersey, he owned pieces of several prize fighters and often organized celebrity baseball games for charity. This one in Los Angeles drew capacity crowds.
The ball game. Take me out with the crowd.
That might be because of the celebrity players, or maybe the celebrity cheerleaders like Jane Russell, who later co-starred with Sinatra and Groucho Marx in Double Dynamite. You never know who might show up at these games, like Boris Karloff as the Frankenstein monster. Or, quite properly locked in a cage, the Three Stooges. Sinatra was big fans of them all his life. Burt Lancaster makes a one-base hit to right field. Sinatra's not worried because he knows what's coming up next. Mickey Rooney. But Rooney bunts, hits first, keeps going to second, and then third. A foul almost gets him home, but then he's caught between third and home. Is he out? He doesn't think so. The crowd loved it. But crowds were starting to stay away from Sinatra. Attendance was falling back in live performances, and the grosses of his pictures were starting to fall off as well. Well-publicized romances with Lana Turner and Marilyn Maxwell made his home life with Nancy and his 3 children look extremely awkward. Then came Hurricane Ava, a North Carolina-born brunette who exuded charm, sensuousness, and sex appeal. Sinatra was smitten. He did the one thing that he would never do for any other woman. He left his wife and children for Ava Gardner. When he wouldn't take the final move and actually divorce Nancy, Ava went out and had an affair with a bullfighter. This on-again, off-again, love-hate romance went on for years until Frank Sinatra and Ava Gardner were finally married on November 7th, 1951. But her career was on an upswing, and his was on a downward curve, despite an occasional hit.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Me dear old father wore upon St. Patrick's Day. Now talk about respect with his head erect as he marched down old Broadway. If the glow in her eyes and the light in her smile could charm a bird right off a tree, I'll be charmed as a bird, and I'll know in a word she's the right girl for me.
Oh, Miss Higgins. Oh, gee. You're the prettiest manager in baseball.
Oh, Eddie, you're certainly the prettiest shortstop.
It's fate, baby, it's fate. And it's knocking at our door. It's fate, baby, and that's the reason you're mine and I am yours.
Someone's on first and the game is in doubt. The guy up at bat hits a terrible clout. The dust clears away and they're both of them out. O'Brien to Ryan to Goldberg.
Like a Saturday night on Main Street.
Like a Ford or a Chevrolet.
Like potato chips or comic strips. It's strictly USA.
They're really here today. Cause it's strictly the people ride in a hole in the ground. New York, New York, it's a wonderful town. You can count on me. As the adding machine once said, you can count on me.
Musical tastes started to change. The lush backgrounds of Alex Stordahl and the blaring brass of big bands began to feel the influence of rhythm and blues, and the emerging sounds of folk music, country and western, and jazz, bebop. Sinatra wanted to adapt, modify his own style to incorporate these new things. But he had 2 things going against him: his record company and his temper. Columbia Records was more interested in pushing belters like Frankie Lane than the old-fashioned Sinatra. Critics seemed to take an unholy delight in kicking Sinatra while he was down. Attendance was off at his club dates and amphitheater performances. His radio shows were panned unmercifully, and an attempt at breaking into television seemed ill-fated, even in the company of such old pros as Bob Hope.
Take the plunge.
because he's the guy that promotes a lot of fun wherever he's around. He's a great boy. He's a boy that made popular song history. I'm thrilled to introduce Mr. Frank Sinatra right here. I'm gonna love you.
The lightweight and happy-go-lucky image of Sinatra on the television screen was at odds with what people read in the newspapers. With his career on the slide, he followed Ava Gardner while she did major movies on location. His frivolous TV shows had top stars doing bad comedy.
Who's there? The Three Stooges! The Three Stooges? Well, come on in.
Frankie, boy. Frankie! Frankie!
Happy New Year! Frankie!
Frankie!
Where are you?
Here I am. Oh, well, why didn't you say something? We thought you were the hall tree.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
What are you doing? Can't you wait till the girls get here?
Well, if the girls get here, I won't get to dance with you. Look, fellas, sit down, will you? I got a lot of trouble. I want to talk to you. Look, you got me hung up pretty good here. Look, I haven't got it. Would you sit down, please?
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm in a terrible spot. My man didn't show up for the night, and I've got nobody to help me out at the party. Now,
I can be a butler.
how can you be a butler? You don't even know how to talk.
Well, I can be a silent butler. Silent? Wait a minute. What are you hitting me for?
I wanted that joke for myself.
You got it?
Listen, fellas, no, wait a minute. No, kidding aside. If you can help me out a little bit by maybe helping around, serving some drinks and sandwiches, take the hats and coats, answer the door once in a while.
Oh, sure.
You'll be my buddies for life.
Frankie, how's about we sing a song, too?
I didn't know you guys were singers.
Oh, certainly. We're known as the Fish Market Trio.
Fish Market Trio?
Yeah, we sing for the halibut.
What are you guys, kidding? Well, Louis Armstrong, come on in, boy. Say, Louis, tell me, I'm glad you made it. How's everything going down at the Oasis Club?
Oh, man, why don't you dig it there?
Well, I've been a little busy. I plan to get down there pretty soon. Where is that place?
You know the joint's jumping there.
Yeah, jumping. Where is this place?
41st and Western. 38th and Western, either one you want to.
41st and Western or 38th? Well, which one is it? I mean, why does it move around? Does it move around?
I don't know, but I told you the joint's jumping.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Now, if you're going to do this, you got to do it right. You never learn, do you? You got to do this right. Elegance, poise. You see, hold back a little bit. Now, do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That's it. Now, here we go. Answer the door.
There we go.
Why, about the power. Tell me, how about a drink?
Well, I'm sorry, I have to watch my figure.
Well, you have the drink and I'll watch your figure. Wow! How come we never made a picture together?
Well, you see, for my leading man, usually I have the tall, rugged caveman types.
Well, what's wrong with me?
No, I said caveman, not caved in.
Sinatra's marriage to Ava Gardner seemed to be the only thing that he could rely on in his life, and even that had major problems. With nothing to challenge him professionally, he became moody, bitter, withdrawn. But Ava Gardner had a career and a life of her own. She wasn't about to give up her work or going off on location for months on end simply to console her husband back home. And Sinatra felt that Columbia recording chief Mitch Miller was deliberately trying to ruin his career, and perhaps music in general, by producing such idiotic novelty songs as Mama Don't Bark, where Sinatra shared the microphone with TV hostess Dagmar. His diminishing reputation took another pounding when gossip columnists revealed Sinatra had gone to Havana, Cuba, in the company of a couple of mob goons, and supposedly hand-carried $2 million in small bills to the godfather of godfathers, Charles Lucky Luciano. Sinatra admitted meeting the gangster and having drinks with him, but correctly pointed out that $2 million in small bills weighs approximately 6,000 pounds and would scarcely fit in his overnight bag. The right-wing gossip mongers ignored the fact that the government itself, through the CIA, was in business with the mob. This was a personal vendetta against Sinatra. Other columnists, like Hedda Hopper, Dorothy Kilgallen, and the Gorgon of the Hearst newspaper syndicate, Luella Parsons, loved to needle and scold Sinatra in print. But it was a right-wing columnist named Lee Mortimer that was Sinatra's newspaper arch-enemy. The bitchy Mortimer sniped at Sinatra in print for years. Finally, one night at Ciro's on the Sunset Strip, Sinatra decked him and called him a degenerate. A lot of people agreed, and Sinatra added that Mortimer had called him a dago. A lot of people secretly admired Sinatra punching out an enemy in public for speaking his mind, but not his employers. MGM's president Louis B. Mayer dropped him from the studio roster. CBS Radio and TV canceled Sinatra's broadcasts for low ratings, and Columbia Records tore up his contract. He had to borrow money for Christmas presents for his wife Ava, his ex-wife, and his kids. It was the low point in his life and his career.